secret. Nobody knows. Eyes are open, hands are fisted. Deep inside, I'm warped and twisted. So many tricks, so many lies. Too many wins, too many whys. Nobody's special, nobody's gifted. I'm just me, lost and twisted. Sleeping awake, choking on a dream. Listen loudly, my silence screams. Calm my mind, the numbers unlisted. Lost in someone, warped and twisted. On my knees, alive but dead. Look at all the blood I shed. I'm not gone, but my head's drifted. Don't expect much, I'm warped and twisted. Burnt out, wasted and hollow. Today's just yesterday, tomorrow. The sun dried out, the ashes sifted. I'm still here, warped and twisted.
Hey y'all, Morning Label Nina, Morning Label Discussions. So, have y'all ever wondered about the date November 13th? Have you ever wondered if it was a date set by planning? If it was a date of happenstance? If it was a date that had to happen, say, somebody was in town and they're leaving Monday, like Kaylee. So I was wondering about it, so I started doing some research on it. And the first thing I did was Katherine Ramsland. Because, you know, the connection with Kohberger. Couldn't find anything. Nothing at all. So then I did Jack the Ripper. I found that November the 13th, 1888, they started putting everything together, you know, doing the inquiry and, you know, really, really getting down to the nitty and gritty of trying to find out who Jack the Ripper was. So, of course, we know Amityville Horror, the Amityville murders happened November the 13th of 1974. So, then I went to Ted Bundy. And November the 13th, for Ted Bundy, I found that he had a girl in his car and she escaped. Well, then he tried to get a teacher and a student in the car and they wouldn't go. So he was a two-time failure that night until he finally found a 17-year-old student. And unfortunately, she got in the car with him. So that happened November 13th of 1974 concerning Ted Bundy. So I went to mass murder. Wow. Sorry about that. I fell off my pedestal. That's never a good thing when you fall off your pedestal. Sorry. So anyway, So now we've gone through the Amityville murders, Jack the Ripper, Ted Bundy. So I did mass killings. I found one, and it was in Rancho Tullahoma in California. I think that's how you say it. And the guy's name is Kevin Janison Neal. And it happened November the 13th, 2017. So Mr. Neal gets up and decides that he wants to unalive his wife. And so he takes his gun and he murders her. And he has decided that his next door neighbors are meth dealers. So he goes and he murders them. And so that would be, I guess what you'd say is targeted attacks. So he gets in his car, his truck, starts driving down the road, and he's just shooting. And just glass going everywhere, and, you know, just shooting at cars as they go by. So he comes up on an intersection, and he bumps into a car, and it's her mama. It's a mama with 3 sons. So he starts shooting, and he shoots the mama 5 times, and 4 times was right around her heart, but it didn't hit her heart. And the glass was going everywhere, and anyway, the mama and the 3 boys ended up surviving. So he takes off in his truck, and he drives to the elementary school. Well, it just so happened that the teachers had heard the gunshots, so they had the school on lockdown. And so he goes into what they call the quadrangle. And I think that's probably like the center point, you know, like maybe a, I don't know. Anyway, a quadrangle. And he can't get in the school, so he's just shooting the windows out. And come to find out, they think that he was looking for the neighbor's son. So he gets mad there because he can't do anything there. And he gets in the truck and he's going down the highway and he's still just shooting people. He ends up shooting and killing a guy. And then there's a guy trying to escape and he shoots him. And as he is escaping and just driving and shooting everybody, when the police get after him and he shoots himself. And so that happened November the 13th of 2017. And his name was Kevin Janison Neal. So from there, I thought, well, serial killers. If I'm a TA with, you know, criminal justice and criminology and all that under my belt, then, you know, of course I'm going to study serial killers. And I would have sworn it was going to be Ted Bundy. But I'm not going to say it's not a big deal because a little 17-year-old did lose her life that night. So I find a guy named, let's see. His name is Hubert Gerald Jr. And he is known as the Inglewood Strangler in Chicago, Illinois. And from 1994 to 1995, he strangled, I think it was like 7 women and attempted 3. And it was night girls, ladies of the night, I guess you'd call them. And what he would do was he would prey on the ones with addiction and give them free drugs to get them in his car. And he got the death penalty, but then the governor of Illinois put a moratorium on the death sentence, so he's now in prison for life. So then, if y'all hear my dog, I do apologize. So then I found David Bullock, and he's the .38 caliber shooter. And in New York City from 1981 to 1982, he killed 6 people. And So he is in prison with 150 years to life. So then I found Kristen Gilbert. And she was a nurse at a Veterans Hospital. That just really irked me, at a Veterans Hospital. And she is convicted of putting epinephrine in the IV of the patients. And she got convicted of 6 and attempted murder of 3. But the VA came back and said that she was working there for half of the 350 deaths. Wow. So what they all 3 have in common is their birthdays are November 13th. Kristen Gilbert, her birthday is November 13th, 1967. And Hubert Gerald's birthday is November 13th, 1964. And David Bullock's birthday is November 13th, 1980. So those 3 was their birthdays. Well, then I found a guy named Peter Sutcliffe. And he is an English serial killer that was known as the Yorkshire Ripper. And he killed 3 women and got 7 attempted murders. And instead of it being his birth date, he actually died November the 13th, 2020 of COVID. So we have 3 serial killers with their birth date of November the 13th. Then we have one that died on November the 13th. We have a spree killer, a mass killer, it actually happened on November 13th. Jack the Ripper is coming together on November the 13th. Ted Bundy failed twice and accomplished getting a 17-year-old in his car November 13th. And then we have Peter Sutcliffe that died November 13th. So I don't know if that means anything. I mean, you have to wonder if November 13th even an important date, as far as the killer is concerned. I mean, because it could be that maybe it was supposed to happen on the 12th. Have you thought about that? I mean, because sometimes I know what'll happen is maybe their target that they had in mind, it fell through, and so now they're angry and just hunting somebody, and maybe him riding around was him pumping himself up. I can do this, getting madder and madder. But then sometimes I wonder if riding around 3 times around the house before you stop, maybe that was him trying to talk himself out of it. What are you doing, dude? Are you crazy? What makes you think you can go in that house and do that? And now keep in mind that I do not, in my opinion, and my research that I've done, I think that Xana was the target. I know that most serial killers have a type. And I call it the prototype. And I know it's not what they're called, but that's what I call it. And I think Xana fit the prototype. And I think that's going to be the next story. It's controversial. I'll get a lot of stress about it. But I wouldn't be the Warning Label discussions if I didn't discuss those things that nobody else wanted to. And I think that it's something, it's something interesting. Because there is a look, there is a type. And I think Xana fit that profile. And if you hear my dog, I'm sorry. I have recorded this 3 times and haven't been happy. So even though I dropped me on my head and fell off my pedestal, it's going through this time. I just wanted to put that out there about November the 13th. You know, that there are 3 serial killers with the birth date of November 13th. One serial killer died on November 13th. Amityville, November 13th. Ted Bundy had an event on November 13th. Putting together Jack the Ripper on November 13th. And let me know if you think that date was chosen, if that date was planned, if that date just happened. Just let me know in the comments what you think. This is Warning Label Nina. I'm Warning Label Discussions, and I'll be putting out, I guess we'll call it the prototype. Thank y'all.